I suppose by the time you're watching this video, you already know what has cooked, right? What has brewed from the latest episode of the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You anime adaptation from this incredible manga series, fam. Well, I guess there's no point in really hiding that aspect much longer. But let's just talk about this entire episode, fam, because I absolutely love it. Welcome to another episode of me trying to give my own insights and overviews review on the 10th episode of this of Hyakuno, essentially, right? So, episode 10, this kicks off, or opens up rather, with another repeat of that very heartbreaking moment when Hakari declared that she wants to break up with Rentaro. Oh, even just thinking about it just gives me the chills. More to that recap, there's a recap of the Rentaro family's mission, right, to go rescue Hakari from her mother. Now, the episode officially starts off this entire Hakari rescue arc, which, you know, technically started, it essentially starts at the third volume of this series, which also technically occurred at the second half rather of episode 9. So during the whole bit when Rentaro and the Rentaro family got together at the park, when they decided rather to, you know, rescue Hakari, that was officially the start of the third volume of this series. And episode 10 starts off with the Rentaro family breaking into the Hanazono mansion, right, where Hakari is locked up in her room. As a rich family, right, they have this sort of really amazing, grand, you know, estate, right, with also really tight security, so to speak. So there are some security guards roaming around here and there, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge for the Rentaro family to overcome, but eventually they did, right? And first of all, I really wanted to say once again on how amazingly this anime, how Biburi Animations really fleshes out and emphasizes the many scenes of the story to give the setting, especially on Hakari's mansion, the Hanazono mansion, a much more understandable feel as to, you know, just the entirety of the area of the place, right? And I really love the aspect. I also really love how they also play, the characters would also play these comedic moments so well, as, you know, just what part of what drives it to be so funny is indeed the voice acting of the voice actors towards the characters. On Kusuri and Karene's part, I really love their voices so much, on how energetic and how funny and hilarious their lines can be delivered or are delivered, right? I also really love the cute gestures that Shizuka makes. It's so adorable, and this whole text-to-speech conversation style really brings out the cuteness and at the same time the hilariousness when delivered in such a monotone manner, right? I also really love and find it so hilarious as well to hear Nano, you know, blatantly suggest wild means of subduing the pets of Hakari. When I read it in the manga, I legit was bursting out in laughter from how, you know, sudden that suggestion is and how forward she is when suggesting it, and in the anime it delivers that sort of, you know, the absurdity of Nano's means of efficiency so well, right? That she really is a person who if it means getting the, you know, the results quickly, then she would do it. But of course, you know, thankfully Rentaro had to stop her from, you know, actually doing that, you know. The family sneaks in further into the mansion, right, and they reach this part when Rentaro takes Kusuri's infrared eye drops to be able to help them see through the infrared vision, that whole trap set in the corridor. And for one, I also wanted to comment on the eye design of Rentaro. It has that whole sort of cross aspect design to it, right? Which, you know, it is quite different from that of the manga, but hey, I actually quite like it. You know, the color scheme might as well. Honestly, for me, it took some time getting used to, but hey, I guess in one way or another, it does indeed make sense. And another thing as well, I I really love how Rentaro perfectly delivered that whole Tom Cruise line, you know, Mission Impossible reference here and there. Wataru Kato, the voice actor who plays Rentaro, really makes every bit of Rentaro's dialogue, no matter if it's in the sort of heartwarming tone, in the comedic tone, whenever he does that sort of scream or retort and such, it's delivered so perfectly and so fitting that indeed I literally cannot picture any other voice character, well, some or two, right, voice the way that Wataru Kato would voice Rentero's. I think that indeed is such a perfect match to Rentero's character and his entirety, right? Just as the family were about to reach Hakori in the story, right? They were unfortunately caught by the guards, and they were brought to Hakori's mother, who we now know, or who introduces herself as Hahari, right? Here is where the good part starts to come into play, right? Where we get to understand the reason why Hahari confined Hakori in the first place, right? And I'm not gonna spoil too much into that whole matter, but I do want to comment on how emotional and heavy the entire scene was. You know, the performance of Sumire Uesaka, who is the voice actress playing Hahari, really did such an amazing job to deliver the backstory, to deliver Hahari's lines in such a very convincing, heartfelt, emotional, and really substantial manner, you know. And again, just everything about the portrayal of Hahari's character, from just this of the telling of her backstory alone, also really gives us the idea that Hahari is indeed someone with proper justification, right? The anime did a really good job. It did justice to the scene of Hahari's entire backstory and everything from it, to even frame it as to that there is definitely a reason to her actions, right? The way that she acts accordingly out of the love for her daughter. That part I felt like was also kind of hit as well when she delivered, or when she mentions that to Rentaro. And trust me, fam, when I say that Hahari is someone who really loves her daughter, I literally mean that she really loves her daughter. And you'd see why if you read along to more of the manga, right? Or perhaps it's also going to be portrayed and shown through later on in the upcoming episodes, right? I really love again how Hahari really has, is really, portraying that sort of character with that love and care for her daughter, right? Which is why she went through such lengths to ensure that Hakari and Rentaro break up, as to not go through, as not like Hakari go through the same experiences that she did, right? And in one way or another, right, hopefully as well, audiences wouldn't see her as much of a, cold-hearted villain, so to speak, right? In fact, it's kind of the opposite, but that is precisely the thing, fam. There's definitely a reason as to why Hahari's character is not totally portrayed as this, absolute menace of a person, right? She's definitely someone with reason and, justification to why she would, do these things, right? And although that is indeed a challenge that Rentaro has to overcome and has to try to figure out on how he would really prove himself to her, right? And as Rentaro and probably everyone else who watched the episode also had tears dripping from their eyes, from my eyes, right? Because again, I really felt so sympathetic. I really empathized with the feelings of Hahari, right, from what she's been through. Again, the performance really nailed it so perfectly well, right? So going back, tears falling down Rentero's eyes, it washed off the entire the infrared drug that eye drops rather, that Kusri gave to him, right? And when all was when everything started to get clearer now, Rentaro got a good proper look at Hahari eye to eye, and well, this is where the manga has further started rather the insanity of it, right? And to bring it all together, Hahari confessed right away to Rentaro, and that is where the episode ends. And no doubt in my mind, dude, did a lot of people, especially people who weren't aware of who weren't familiar of this series before, were definitely shocked by that revelation, to say the least, right? But I suppose something like this, the whole part of the mother falling or confessing or falling in love, at least having a romantic interest, so to speak, right, with the main protagonist, is quote unquote nothing surprising, especially considering how in this entire anime verse and manga, light novels and everything surrounding Japanese storytelling, right? It's it kind of scares me in one way or another how quote unquote expected, or surely now that's gonna happen type of vibe, how that sort of feeling is natural, for lack of a better term. Like, in one way or another, we can see that okay, fine, that kind of does check out, because well, it is anime, so to speak, right? But yet again, scratching all of that and just looking at the story in itself, right, it's still a huge shocker, of which I think the anime has really executed that scene so perfectly, right? And the one thing that I was really also happy to see, or rather hear, right, is Hahari's voice in that love-struck tone of hers. And I'll explain more on that in a later video, the next episode. But for now, I really wanted to say that indeed Sumire Uesaka has done an amazing job to deliver that line of Hahari, and I really can't wait to hear more of it, fam, because it really does check out so well, especially considering if you see the other characters that this voice actress played. It does make sense as to why she was also a perfect fit. She was chosen to be the voice character for this particular character, because I feel like strongly, as this show would progress moving forward, right, with more episodes coming along, especially knowing that there's already that sort of leak, so to speak, that there's going to be 24 episodes, right? Hahari's lines are going to be so much more lively and so much more, having this sort of love-struck vibe to hers, right? And yeah, that aspect of Hahari's character is one thing that I really love about her, essentially, right? And of course, the attitude and personality that she has. But hearing it in the anime adaptation just brings it a whole new level, of which I am so happy to to be able to experience and witness firsthand, especially as someone who has been a long time fan of this manga series. So I've been looking forward to hearing the voices of these characters, how would they sound like if they were to get an anime adaptation. I even made a video talking about my sort of predictions on who I think would be the perfect voice cast for the characters in this series. And although there were some voice actresses of which I indeed also gonna of who I've mentioned did appear, right, actually seeing the actual cast, I feel like it really nailed it so beautifully and so perfectly to matching these voice actresses with their characters, right? And again, it's also part of the amazing talent of the voice actors of Sumire Uesaka, who delivers Hahari's lines in both that sort of strict manner and this tone that this tone, love struck tone that she has, you know. And again, super excited to hear and see more of it. Thank you for listening, family. And with that being said, take care.